evening, everyone, and welcome to Kidlit Live. I'm Arden Jones, and I'm really excited tonight. I know I've done lots of posts about how excited I am, but I'll just give you a little bit of insight into why I'm so excited and who is coming on the show. So, if you've been catching up on the posts, you'll know that tonight's guest is the lovely Sarah Massini. She is an illustrator and a writer of children's picture books. And I do feel like if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't possibly be on this journey now. I definitely wouldn't be where I am now. I do hope that I would have eventually found my way because I absolutely love writing for children. But it was a certain book that I saw that I was drawn to, and it all started from there. It was just this book, The Girl and the Dinosaur. I was drawn to this I saw it in a supermarket actually, and I absolutely fell in love with it. And then just started researching Sarah's other books and also the author of this book, Holly Hughes. And on this research, I found out that Holly, the author, is from a working class background, and it just inspired me to just really just go for my dreams. I've always wanted to write, so I thought I'd just give writing for children a go, and I've actually found that I was pretty good at it. So it just totally kicked off my writing for children journey, and I really just thank Holly and Sarah for this. So to have Sarah on the show tonight is absolutely a dream come true for me. So let's bring her on. Hello.
Hi, that was a really lovely introduction.
I mean, you know all this. I've spoke to you in real life, actually, at the picnic last year, and told you this and nearly cried. So it's quite emotional. It's quite emotional for me.
It's going to make me cry as well.
That's on camera. But no, it's absolutely just changed my life. So thank you. I owe so much to you and Holly. Absolutely, yes. Just to give me that inspiration and to believe that actually someone with a background like mine can actually do this, follow their dreams and maybe have a career in something they absolutely love.
Yeah,
that's life changing.
Yeah.
So yes, it's very emotional. So thank you very much.
Oh, that's right. I mean, to be honest with you, I don't. It's not been an easy journey for me either. And sort of certainly talking about your background and that, I wouldn't be sitting here without my husband's support, basically, because it needs somebody to be your backbone almost, I guess. That's probably completely the wrong word to use, but yeah, I wouldn't be here without my husband's support. So I think we all need something to prop us up on this journey.
To keep going. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, my husband is he's also a creative person. He's a musician, so he totally understands that passion and desire to just go for what you.
It is a passion, isn't it? I don't know. I'm the same. I mean, it's like it's beyond reason. Just had to do it, kind of thing. And it took me a long time to get to be an illustrator, which I'll probably tell you about shortly. But yeah, I just had to do it. And certainly, there's a point where Peter said, "Look, now's the time. If you don't do it, you'll just live to regret it." So it's like a compulsion, basically.
Yeah. It really is, and it's such a lovely supportive environment as well, isn't it, in the children's publishing side?
Definitely, so many lovely people. I think it kind of goes with the territory, doesn't it? Because I think we have, in order to create words and pictures for children, we have to be naturally empathetic people.
Mm-hmm.
Don't you think?
Yes, yeah, I think so. Yeah, definitely.
Because of that, all the people within the industry are naturally quite empathetic, kind, and nice people. So it is a really nice, work environment. Just a really lovely community, I think.
Yeah. And I've just made so many friends as well. I mean, it's such a shame everything that's happening with Twitter at the moment. But if also Twitter is where I kind of, after discovering what I really want to do, is where I just started getting really involved in the writing community and making friends and people that I know that I'll just be in touch with like forever, like because we've just it's such a lovely
What are you
tight
going to do? Are you looking at Threads? Have you joined that?
I did join Threads when it like a couple of weeks ago, but I don't really do anything on it. I've done one post as an introduction, and I've kind of left it there. But I'll be hanging on till the bitter end on Twitter, and I'm always going to call it Twitter. I reckon it'll end up just backtracking because people are just not happy and leaving. So who knows? But this has been ever since Elon's taken it, hasn't it? It's been people are leaving, they're joining other things. It was like Mastodon or something. There was another thing, and then they're back on Twitter. So I've just stayed, and I'm going to stay until I can't stay any longer. And that's because I love it.
I've never really used Twitter super actively. I've just sort of been there and posted sort of when necessary. I think Instagram is more my natural home, or that's driven me slightly mad recently too. But it's more visual, of course, which I think has helped. From the illustrator's point of view, I've kind of always treated it a bit like a gallery or a portfolio of my work kind of thing. So quite careful about how I place things and that kind of stuff.
That's so good.
Very visual and designery approach to it, really.
I'm so impressed by that because mine is just a mess. Like if you go onto my profile, there is just it's like not aesthetically pleasing in any way.
It's harder for writers, isn't it? Because you don't. I mean, with illustrators, we've got loads of visual material up to hand.
And lovely, beautiful illustrations are always going to make it look amazing as well because
I hope so.
They do. So we'll get started on the questions, and we kind of just started going into it earlier. So talking about your journey into children's book illustrating. So have you always known you wanted to be an illustrator, and like how did you end up working in children's books?
This answer could take the whole hour. Yes, I did. I think I was like I was just drawing from a really young age. Just it was kind of my happy place. And we moved around a lot when I was a kid, and I think art was always a bit of a refuge for me. And then I got to sort of A levels, and I was under a lot of parental pressure really to do not what I wanted, but what a parent wanted. And if that parent, that's my dad, I'll say, if he got his way, I'd be a civil engineer by now. Which is a fantastic joke, and the school said, "Don't be ridiculous. She's not going to pass maths and physics and chemistry." So I ended up doing history, art, and English, and then I really wanted to do illustration, and certainly all the things that I was doing at Art A level were very kind of story illustrations, and even my Art A level paper was a sort of a narrative illustration sort of thing. So it was kind of always there, and I was just always, I loved, already loved the work of Sendak, and I've got here, Richard Scarry, I loved as a child, and it was just going to go that way. But again, again, pressure. I was denied access to an illustration course, basically. And I was told that I needed to get a job at the end of my degree. And in order to do that, I had to do a degree that would allow me to get a job. So that's how I ended up doing graphic design. So I did graphic design in Manchester. And I tried to switch onto the illustration course. So really determined. And the tutors, Tony Ross was the tutor there at the time.
Oh wow!
And the design tutors wouldn't let me go because I think I was quite a capable design student, and they kind of recognised that I had potentially had a future in design. So they wouldn't let me go, and the illustration tutors wouldn't let me on either. So Tony Ross gave me some private lessons, but I couldn't keep the two going, the illustration and design, and so what I ended up doing was turning every single design brief into an illustration job. I actually did do a Royal Society of Arts design bursary to design some stamps. It was a national competition, and it won the competition. I think partly because I had a design and a illustration sort of what's the word, basis for what I was doing, and I was able to come at it from both angles. And I chose these stamps because I knew I'd be able to illustrate them. So I won the thing, and that helped get me a job very easily after college, in a design studio. But I wasn't that happy in London, and anyway, long story short, gradually I drifted into children's publishing as a means to satisfy my need to be near illustration and illustrators. So so I worked in as a designer of children's publishing for about 5 years for 3 different publishers. And then I was made redundant at the same time that I was expecting our son. And my husband said afterwards, once things had sort of settled down, now's the time, Sarah. If you really, really want to do this, you've got to do it. So I did bits of freelance design work and then built up my illustration portfolio alongside. So all that whole process, I mean, we're talking years. I came at it far too late. I think by the time I started illustrating, and I started illustrating seriously, I was about 35, 36.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of getting on a bit, really.
I mean, I feel I'm in a similar boat, but older. So I was 40
right
when I realised this. Not when I realised, it's when I discovered that I could possibly, this is something that's achievable. To me.
It is challenging. There was the head of design, I think, at Walker Books at the time, because I was kind of doing the rounds, talking to people after I'd been made redundant. I was really pregnant. I was actually offered a job at Walker Books in the covers department.
Oh wow!
Which I turned down because I just didn't feel I could abandon my newborn at that point. Commute for 12 hours, be out of the home for 12 hours a day, effectively. And I said, no, I really, really would like to give this illustration a try. And she told me it was too late. That I'd left it too late.
Oh my goodness!
So it was a bit of a shocking thing, really. But I can see what she meant, because really, I think what you're doing is, over years you're building up your catalogue of books, and in building up your catalogue of books, you're building up your royalty base, and it's your royalty base that feeds into your income. That's how I think, particularly for me, because it takes me so long to produce a book, I really depend on that royalty base of income. So, but that takes time. That takes years to do, and not every book will pay back royalties either. So, it is a tricky old business, really. I think from our perspective, I feel anyway. So I can see what she meant by it.
Yeah. I think there is definitely a similarity with the writing as well, especially when it comes to picture books, because the writers can write the book, but that picture will still obviously be illustrated, and it's such a long time between signing a contract for that book to be out, and you might have had a very, picture books don't pay a very high advance, so then you've got that's got to last 2 years, so you need to make sure you're
selling.
selling when you first start, in order just to get by. And
absolutely. You see, this is where my husband's support comes in. I couldn't have done it without him. It's just simple. I couldn't have done it without his support.
Oh, he sounds amazing. And I'm so glad that he supported you. So I'm so glad that you followed your dreams, and this is just working out for you, because it's
thank you.
I mean, for my own self, this has been amazing for me, whether or not I would have even got to this point, like I said earlier. But for you to to be in the hands of all these children that enjoy your books.
It's amazing, isn't it? That is an amazing thing. Nothing gives me greater joy, I guess, than seeing those photographs of kids reading and being totally absorbed and focused. Because I think when you're sitting in your room by yourself, because my child's grown up now, but when you're sitting in a room by yourself, you're slightly detached from that end process. So to see those photographs of kids, really being absorbed in it, it's almost like a surprise, but a really, really joyful one, a really happy one.
Yeah. Actually, talking about that, Willow, one of her first books that she really kind of just started recognizing words and things was The Boy and the Bear.
Yeah.
Obviously,
I do remember the video you posted a picture of her reading it.
This is The Boy and the Bear, which is written by
Gorgeous,
Tracy Corderoy and illustrated by Sarah.
Mm.
So I think, with Nosy Crow as well, and their audio books, I think children really enjoy those.
Right.
And they're looking at that, they can look at the story, and obviously we would read to them anyway, but with the sound effects and everything like that, I feel like they really can get even more into it. So, and it's like, turn the page now. And as she was going along, she started recognizing where the words were in the book.
That's amazing.
Amazing. But also,
Nosy Crow knew that would be, because that's quite an interesting, as an educational aspect to that whole read aloud thing they do. I don't think other publishers do it, do they? Do they?
Not many. There's been a couple of Anderson books that have got the QR code where they do that. Okay. But I don't think they have there's nothing in there to like turn the page, so you have to just know when it's finished. But so for a child, if for instance, they was just sort of there doing, they shouldn't be on their own, but if they're on their own reading a book and they've got that app and it's saying turn the page and they do that, and then they can, the first thing they see is it says bear, and they'll see that their eyes are automatically onto that one word. But also, she loved bear. Her favourite colour is blue, so she absolutely loved bear, and that we read that book so much.
That book came because I did a Christmas card with the blue bear and the little boy and the blue bear. It's sort of, and everybody just loved it who saw it. It's very rare that I have time to do my own illustrations, but that was one I did, and so and Nosy Crow picked up on it and asked Tracy Corderoy to write a story for it.
Oh, that's amazing! And Tracy is so lovely, isn't she?
Yeah, she's really nice. Yeah. All my authors are all really lovely. They are.
We're all lovely in children's publishing.
Exactly, we are. As you said earlier, we're all wonderful.
So, obviously, as I mentioned, I love all your books. I'm a huge fan. And I love your watercolor use, and the detail is just incredible. So I just what to share with everybody, what inspires you to write and to illustrate in this style. Where did you said your inspirations was you've done the bear, so it all ties in with what inspires you to.
Well, are you asking about technique and style?
Yes, I suppose. Yes, I'd imagine I am. I think my next question is, how do you create your illustrations?
Okay. But why do I put so much detail in them?
I
would say that's stupidity.
Takes a lot longer. That's what everything.
I quite often say to myself, I need to put, kiss, keep it simple, stupid above my desk.
Oh, I've never heard that.
Have you not heard of that?
No.
Kiss, keep it simple, stupid. The emphasis on the stupid. But somehow I don't know. I just seem to ignore that internal instruction every time. I don't know why. I loved again, the Richard Scarry, that I just, when I was a kid. So this is a book from my own childhood. So I don't know if you can see, it's in German. It's actually a English-German dictionary. I didn't actually learn any German from it because I just used to spend my whole time looking at the pictures, basically. Just, getting lost in all the detail.
Yeah.
And then a bit later, books like Bramley Hedge, which was just really, really detailed. And I just kind of really loved the detail of it as a child myself. And I guess that's just carried on into adulthood, really. And then the other thing is, when I first started illustrating, I was illustrating with acrylic, so it was all traditional methods. But I used to love textures and just simple things like lichen or moss growing on a tree, and I think, oh God, it would be so amazing if I could paint that, but it would take me forever. And I just find that really frustrating that I wouldn't be able to do that without spending days of my life just drawing little bits of lichen. But now with the digital work, using Photoshop and layering textures and washes and pattern and stuff, you can just do it like that.
Yeah.
Really, so that whole thing of like trying to to do the texture of lichen, I can do it really easily in Photoshop now. So I think that's kind of that sort of recognition that I can do that has led me to do it, and that's why probably my work is quite textured and layered.
Yeah, oh, that's so interesting. I mean, I don't really know of like that many sort of illustration programs or ways. I mean, I've heard of Photoshop and Procreate and things like that. So it's just it's everything is there on hand in one place. It's so.
It is, but you can still bring into it what you want to bring into it. I have to be honest, I don't know how to use Procreate. I think partly because I just never had time to learn it. I actually went on an adult education course just down the road here to learn how to use Photoshop because I didn't know how to use it. And that one course was like a night class, and I went with my neighbour, who was about 75 at the time. We used to tickle on down, and that one course, that evening class, simple adult education evening class, has completely changed my life, quite frankly, because using Photoshop is so. I mean, I start off, I create everything, pencil and watercolor and printed ephemera, and I scan it all, and then basically jigsaw piece it all together in Photoshop. So Photoshop is kind of really, really at the heart of what finished artwork is made with.
God, there's so much to it, isn't there? There's like the scanning, and I'm like, wow, you think you'd. I mean, I'm not artistic in any form, so I'm just like thinking pencil, paper, paint. Like I know that you think you can do Photoshop, but mixing them together, it's just amazing.
I think a lot of people say that my style is very unique and very identifiable and different to most other illustrators, so they can spot my artwork, and I think it's because I don't think anyone's quite so stupid enough to work in the way I do. I really believe that because it is so involved and so convoluted and so ridiculous. Yeah. But the Photoshop gives you so much flexibility, and I think part of that is a problem because I would spend hours tweaking and fiddling around, and so in a way it's a bit of a nuisance because I think it's because I'm a perfectionist as well, so I will do that fiddling and twiddling until I'm happy, rather than just saying it's good enough.
Yeah. Well, I think if you can see it, visualize it how you want it to be, and you want to have that end product as you've seen it.
Sometimes part of it is you don't really know what the end product is, and you're experimenting, you're trying things out, and you're moving things around, and that itself can be quite a time-consuming process. But that is how some of the best things happen.
Yeah.
The unexpected, or the thing that you weren't anticipating. I mean, it's the same. And part of that is the traditional side of it too. Is like throwing watercolor on paper and lifting it up and moving it around, or putting salt on it and watching the salt spread the paint around. You want the happy accidents are the things that make it interesting. So it is a balance between happy accidents and control. Yeah. So
I think that can be quite relevant as well, I think, to probably most people who have a creative mind and do creative things. I know, especially as a writer, that's quite similar. So I can, for instance, if I plot stuff, I tend to always move a little bit out of it and fight, and then I'm just writing, and I didn't know that was going to happen, but it might have made that work better.
Okay.
And it's taken me to places that I didn't expect.
Oh, that's really interesting. I'm so interested to hear that, because I've been trying to write something the last couple of weeks. I mean, maybe we should get onto that later, but I'm trying to write something, and so I can learn from you, please, Arden, because I'm really
oh my goodness, I would
absolutely.
Oh, well, I mean, I think, I mean, I've read the books that you've written as well, and I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah,
You know, you're
I
very...
started, because I've been trying to develop a few of my own ideas. And my agent, bless him, Neil, he said, don't rhyme. Don't do any rhyming. So what do I do? And suddenly I'm realising, my goodness, these people who write and rhyme, like Lou Fraser and Holly, I'm thinking, my God, they are geniuses, because it's so difficult.
Yeah.
It's so difficult.
It really is. It is. It's not even just about getting the meter right or anything. There's so much more to it, isn't there? There's making sure that you don't kind of repeat the same thing that you've already said, making sure that it makes sense and it's right.
And then you've got a strong narrative going through it, and you're not just
rhyming for the sake of it, which I think we all probably might do at some point, and then you go back and go, okay, we'll change that around. But just to kind of, if you're stuck on like a line, sometimes I find I'll just write whatever it is, if it doesn't make sense, and I'll just move on, and I can always go back to that. But
they say, don't they, that you should just write something and then you can go back. Rather than just
I mean, you can always edit stuff,
and go, oh my goodness,
It's not like a live video where I can't go back and edit my voice, unfortunately. I would love to do that. But,
no.
But so I mean, you've mentioned Holly there, and obviously, as everybody knows, and I've said it again, it was The Girl and the Dinosaur was the book that inspired me to write. So it means so much to me, this book, and I have this picture up on the wall in Willow's bedroom, which I got from you, from your store. Do you still have your merchandise?
No, I gave it up.
Oh no!
I was actually following Brexit. I lost all my international customers. I mean, not that I had loads that kept coming back, but no one was buying from abroad at all. Postage just went sky high.
Yeah.
I was selling quite a lot of books, but for the effort of making like £3.50 on a book, it wasn't really worth all the wrapping and trekking down to the post office. And then the other thing that I found, I was always doing little drawings on the title page and personalised and all the rest of it. And then I sold a copy of the Velveteen Rabbit for the cover price, which is £14.99, and I found it on eBay or something priced at £65. I thought, so I just thought, no, I've had enough of this. It's not worth the effort of it.
No. I mean, you think you sign it for someone, and they've got a reason, to keep it. Like,
it was naughty, wasn't it? It was naughty. Yeah. I was very disgruntled, I must say.
Well, but
I should tell you a bit about Holly, because Holly,
I was going to ask you, so I'll leave it to you.
Well, when Holly's text arrived, it was instantly, I absolutely loved it. I'd kind of been looking for like an adventure text, and I'd had a lot of kind of love and hug books and that kind of thing that I'd just been doing previously, and they were, it was very nice, but I really wanted something to kind of really, a real strong narrative to drive, and then so The Girl and the Dinosaur arrives in my inbox, and you could tell, like, with each page turn, there's something new and exciting on every single spread, which for an illustrator is an absolute dream to illustrate. It's really, really fun. I mean, you turn over, you've got the swimming scene, and you turn over, you've got the sort of enchanted wood scene, you turn over, you've got the mountain top. Every single spread was just it was just really, really, really nice to illustrate, that kind of thing. From an illustrator's perspective, that's great. Yeah, and strong characters, and
Oh yes, well, I love Marianne, and
up there
of all their dinosaur friends. I just love this spread so much.
It
There's
took me a
so
long time, so I'm glad you like it,
I can
Arden.
imagine. There's talking about detail. There is so much detail in this. Every time I look at it, I spot something new. So, and it's so lovely. It's just absolutely gorgeous book.
Thank you, thank you. It
And
was fun to illustrate.
I can imagine it's,
Mm.
and I mean, I spoke to Holly about this, and she, you know, she loved your illustrations in it as well, obviously.
I think it's one that we're all very proud of.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. I think it's out in so many different countries and languages now as well, isn't it? I've seen different ones.
I don't know. I think it's 14. I'm not sure.
That's amazing.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It got the German one finally. A few weeks ago, we heard there was a German one, and
Wow.
I was surprised it took so long, really, because I do normally sell into Germany my books. So
yeah. Oh, that's so with Holly as well. So I think I heard on the grapevine from something you posted there might be like a future collaboration coming up.
It's our next book. It should be out next year sometime. I'm not sure exactly when. Probably spring, I would think. But yeah. So new one to look forward to. Yeah.
Oh, it's the thing with
And rumblings about another one.
I had to say stuff. I know I'm so excited. I just want to know everything. But so a recent collaboration that you did was with Anna Wilson.
Yeah.
This absolutely stunning book, Grandpa.
Thank you.
And another one published by Nosy Crow. So we've done the audio with this too as well.
Oh right, okay. I haven't heard it actually. I haven't heard the audio for it.
Oh, haven't you? Oh no, it's really lovely. So I've read this like a few times with Willow, and she just totally got the narrative and understood it, and she knew she could kind of understand what was going to happen as well, like with the grandpa, and it really touched me. She
anticipated.
She did, and she's not lost anybody, but she does kind of understand if like a animal. We've got a cat, it kills lots of birds, so she understands like things die and things. So she kind of was like, I think granddad's dead, and I was like, oh my goodness, like, I couldn't believe that she picked that up.
How old is she now?
She's nearly 5. She'll be 5
so she's young, isn't she?
Yeah.
It's very intuitive. It's very intuitive of her, I think. I would say it.
So young. But I mean, it's beautifully told, isn't it? So it's like celebrating the power of nature while teaching the boy in this about the concept of life and death. And all throughout the seasons, it's just so stunning. And so I read somewhere that Anna wrote this in memory of her dad, because kingfishers were his favourite bird. So when it comes to illustrating it, where did you get your inspirations from?
Well, I think really why I was sort of drawn to the book, because I get quite a lot of texts and I turn quite a few down. But why I didn't turn this one down is because of the nature angle of it, actually. And also the fact that it is, it's not just a nature book and it's not just a death book. It's got lots of multiple layers. I do love a book is layered, there's more to it than just, one train of thought, if you like. There's two or three things going on. But the nature angle, I think particularly was very, what's the word? Not inspiring, but it attractive, should we say? Because my husband's an ecologist.
Oh, okay.
So I keep mentioning my husband. we see it because there's the two of us at home. We work. He works in the room next door, so we're a bit kind of like that all the time. It's just being him against the world kind of thing. But he is an ecologist, and so we've been together since we were like 19, 20, and no, not 19, 20, 19 and 20. And I've just always gone out walking with him, and I guess I've learnt about the natural world and birds and flowers and plants through him, because I didn't know anything about it before, really. So it just was just a natural fit, really, because I already knew the subject really, really well. And actually, Peter really helped me as well in terms of the illustrations, because I could ask things like things that I couldn't find online, surprisingly, like what the inside of a kingfisher nest is. I couldn't find any pictures. Do they bring nesting material in to the nest, which they don't. But I couldn't find anywhere online that told me that. So there were lots of visual things and things like the reed mace. What time does it start going all fluffy? What time of year does it start going all fluffy? Well, the other thing is, because you are illustrating with an international market in mind, you can't make everything, like the flowers that you put in there can't be unique to, say, the UK.
Okay.
Like the Kingfishers range, for example, is the whole of Europe and Asia. It's called the Eurasian King. So the plants that you're doing is you have to. They're either like made up, or they're ones that will occur all over, like the yellow flag iris. And Peter knows that. He will say, yeah, you can get yellow flag iris is universal. Basically, it's not just going to occur in Sussex or something. So he was really, really helpful, and it was just a natural fit. Yeah, and as I said, the multi-layered aspect of the story was very appealing to me as well.
Yeah, that was so interesting, because I know, like, when we're writing, we have to try and make sure what we're writing actually makes sense to what is happening in the world, and we don't just obviously we can make things up as children's imaginations and things that we want to make in picture books. Anything can go, really, but also we have to make sure, if we're saying something in spring and it's spring in the UK, that these are the right things that would be happening at this time. So having a Eurasian kingfisher that is across the whole of Europe, I find that so interesting.
Yeah.
And makeup flowers. So have you made up your own?
Some of them are a bit made up.
That's amazing. I want to know which one now. Show me another time.
Yeah, but yeah. Yeah, but most of them are, like, I've got ferns in there, and as I said, the reed mace, because that's mentioned in the story. And but the kingfish, have had to do a separate set of kingfishers for the American market, because this actually it publishes in America next week in the US by Nosy Crow US. But I had to basically, we stripped out all the kingfishers, and there are 30 kingfishers in the book. I counted them. I had to do 30 belted kingfishers, which are then dropped into place for the US edition. So that's a separate edition.
Yeah. How much are they? That much different visually?
They are. Yeah, they are. The belted kingfisher is a lot duller, actually.
Oh, okay.
It's kind of like a dark turquoise and a rusty colour and white. Right. Yeah, so it doesn't have that vibrancy that the Eurasian kingfisher has. So it does look a different book, actually, because obviously with the UK and European and beyond edition, that Eurasian kingfisher really pops out of the spread.
Yeah, they're stunning. The colours, aren't they? Like, they're just
they're beautiful. They're absolutely beautiful. Yeah.
Really gorgeous. Oh wow! I'm going to have to look up this other kingfisher now, because I'm so interested.
Well, it is an interesting point. I mean, the whole thing about the sort of international aspect of what we do. I mean, there are certain things that, as illustrators, we have to be careful of. Like, for example, roundabouts don't really exist in certain places, I believe.
Okay.
I think that's right. We have to be careful of things like post boxes, and also, like, if you're drawing someone driving a car, where does the car wheel? Where's the wheel position, left or right?
What side of the road are they on? Yeah.
So I mean, I remember once, actually, it was when I was working. I think it's when I did Zack and Zeb, which was kind of like my first book for Nosy Crow, and I think I'd done a bowl of strawberries, and in the US they didn't want that because of allergies to strawberries or something. I had to change it to blueberries.
Oh.
So there are things like that the US is quite sensitive towards, that you can't include in your images. It's odd. There's lots of little things like that as illustrators we have to be thinking about when we're doing our illustrations.
Yeah, and I suppose talking using like programs and stuff to help illustrate, that would make that easier. Like if you was actually always having to complete a whole spread,
Yeah.
would be a
Yeah,
new job, a new
layered. You can
all
take
the
things
time.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah, you can
yeah,
take things out quite easily, I think.
that's so interesting. And
Hopefully,
so
yeah. I mean, I keep everything on. Everything's layered until it goes off to repro, basically. So you can pull things out and put things in, like the Kingfishers that was
yeah,
about earlier. Could just whip the Kingfishers out and
it's so
pull a new
it's
one in.
so clever, isn't it?
It just allows enormous flexibility, doesn't it?
Yeah, yeah. Wow, that's amazing. Um, so when I started Kidlit Live, originally my whole thing was because I felt like a lot of querying authors and illustrators who were trying to find agents and things really didn't like have a platform or anywhere to sort of share their journeys and things like that. But then I thought, actually, if I can just have people from at all different stages of their career come onto the show, everybody could kind of help each other.
Mm,
And I think when it comes to writers, especially when it comes to picture books and maybe like really sort of young fiction chapter books that are moving on that are still quite highly illustrated, I know there's been a lot of writers who really struggle with illustration notes. It's something that we're told keep to a minimum, only keep what's necessary. But I know that through experience and through chatting to lots of different illustrators and research and things, some illustrators are absolutely okay with a writer going, I would really like it like this, and some might be just want to be left to do what they feel they want to do, because a picture book is, it's a total fair collaboration between both.
mm.
So when it comes to illustration notes, for when I'm thinking of helping writers on their journey to finding agents and things, what advice do you have on how do you like to have illustration notes in a manuscript when it lands on into your computer?
I'll be honest with you, most of the texts I've had haven't had that many illustration notes in them at all.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, very few. I remember Star in the Jar had a couple, but they were things that were like really intrinsically important in terms of the story.
Yeah.
And that's fair enough. Absolutely, personally, I'm absolutely happy to be guided by that. I think, I guess the problem would be if an author said yes, and the little girl wears a dress that is blue or something. That would be a real problem, wouldn't it?
Yeah. And I
So
think this is something that, when
unless
you
it was an
first
important
started
part
out.
of the story, obviously, but
Yeah.
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 Sorry, I interrupted you there.
Oh no, sorry. Well, I think I did as well. So yeah, I was just thinking, because I know that it's something that some writers can really struggle with, to know what is really needed for the story, or what is just their desire to what they can see visually. So I think it can be
Yeah.
quite a hard line to cross.
I I would advise them to keep it to an absolute minimum and only include instructions that are essential to the story or, to the narrative. Because quite often you're writing, aren't you? You're not, it's this sort of show and don't tell thing, isn't it?
Hmm.
Quite often, I'm
Yeah.
sure that as authors you're thinking about that too.
Yeah.
So if it's something that you're wanting to be in the illustrations to show, but you don't want to tell, but it's still a really crucial and important part of the story, then obviously you need to have an illustration instruction, don't you?
Yeah.
You would think.
Yeah. I, I
Yeah.
I think so. And I think maybe at times as well, like I've had some like people read my books and I'm like, I think it's pretty clear. I don't feel like I need to put illustration notes here, but I've sometimes had, well, can we just have a little note what you think is happening here? But
Mm,
then I'm like, do I?
mm.
Because I feel like that should be left for the illustrator's
It
visualization as
should.
well.
It should.
It's such a hard line sometimes, I
It
think.
should. I think it's quite important that an illustrator can be constrained by being imposed upon, and
Yeah.
that can actually interfere with the creative process that they go through to basically produce the best compositions, the best content, visual content that they can, that it was within their ability. But if they're constrained by everyone else feeding in, it can like be too much noise and can actually have a negative impact, I would think, on the outcome of the illustration.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, definitely. And I think if you could swap the tables, if it happened to be the other way around, and you had illustrations and a writer had to write to your book, we'd possibly feel the same as well, if that makes sense. So we kind of want it to be a collaboration, and the story needs to make sense, but you need to be left to do what you feel is right for the story. And
I think the important thing to bear in mind as well is the process that we go through with the art director. The art director will basically, it's a really slow process in the sense that you do your thumbnails, and the art director will jump in at that moment, at that point, or at the rough stage, and say, no, look, this is not what the author is intending, and the authors get to see those stages too, and there are points at which the editorial team can jump in and say, look, this illustration isn't quite doing what the narrative is asking it to do. So, what I'm trying to say, I think, is the illustrator could go off on the wrong tangent in terms of what the author and the editor are wanting.
Yeah.
And there are plenty of opportunities during the process for them to step in and rein the illustrator in and bring them back to the story, I think. So it's better to allow the illustrator to have creative freedom in the early stages, because it's never set in stone until you press repro, off to repro button,
Yeah. It's so interesting, like just knowing a little bit of what actually happens there behind the scenes. So you'd like every now and then just send off what you've finished off to the art director.
So there are basically I think it's sort of 3 stages. Well, there's 3 stages, but the first stage for me anyway has become very involved these days. So it's thumbnails. So I get the text, and then I will do a load of scribbling in a notebook by myself. Show them, they're like really messy, and then I will pull out of that, a thumbnail, a rough drawing, very, very rough drawing, and I will color it up, but it will be the whole book. So storyboard the book basically.
Yeah.
And I send that off, and that usually for me these days seems to go through 3, 4, 5 changes before the publisher is, the editorial team is happy, and at that point it goes to the author, and the author has a look and makes comments. And then once that's been fully approved, then I'm doing roughs. So I do my rough stage. So they're detailed drawings, full size. And then that goes back again to the publisher and again to the author. So again, that's the opportunity for them to then comment and, make changes. And then once everyone's happy with the rough stage, then I go on to the artwork. And then the artwork, once that's done, which is obviously quite a slow process in my case, then that goes back. And again, if there are any small changes, then they happen too. So it's the thumbnail stage for me where the most changes happen, and that can be quite, it's like the most creative and energetic part, and you're full of enthusiasm and all the rest of it. But it can go through a number of changes before everyone is happy, and sometimes quite some really nice ideas are lost at that stage, which is a shame. Some really nice compositions, or something that you think, well, this would be really fun to illustrate, but if it's not fitting in with the overall narrative or the flow of the book, or then you have to change it. You're not entirely pleasing yourself. I think it's really important to say that, as an illustrator, you're not pleasing, you're working with a team of people. So
because I don't really think, like, we hear as writers, like you'll do something and that bit doesn't work, and you might take that out and save that for possibly another book, or it's shelved. Like, so to know that this is another thing that happens with illustration is so interesting, and I think probably quite helpful for people to sort of know this actually happens as well on both sides of the collaboration. Because I probably, if I really thought about it, I hadn't really learnt this and hadn't known this, so it's so interesting. Obviously I probably didn't think everything would be perfect straight off, but knowing that we get a say as well, and we can look at
absolutely.
I'm not sure about that, or I don't know if I'd ever have the guts. I'd be like, oh, I love it, like.
Well, I'll be honest, maybe I'm just lucky, but I've only really ever had positive comments, I think, from my authors in recent years. Anyway, I mean, I have made changes, but I think they've usually come through the editorial team at the publisher rather than from the author.
Yeah.
I think, anyway. As I say, the authors I work with are all really lovely.
Well, I couldn't imagine if I'm ever lucky enough to work with you, I can't imagine ever going, no, I don't want that bit that Sarah's done.
Well, you should, if it doesn't fit with your story, shouldn't you?
Well,
absolutely.
I'd hope one day that this happens. Not that I say no, that we collaborate one day. That would be an absolute dream of mine.
That would be lovely.
Yeah. So we'll just move on. So what, we spoke about so much about books and what you've worked on and how you've got to where you are now, but what's coming next for Sarah? I know we spoke about there's a book with Holly that we're not quite allowed to go into too much.
There's book publishing next year with Holly. I think I'm allowed to mention it because I think it's been publicised. There's a paperback of The Little Prince due out shortly. And as I say, I think it's been mentioned. So there is going to be a pop-up version of it as well next year. I hope it's okay.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's really lovely, really lovely.
I think kids of all ages love a pop-up.
I wasn't meant to mention that. And in terms of new stuff, yeah, I've got more with Bloomsbury to do, and there are quite a few other things in the pipeline as well. So my agent Neil has been super busy and has got lots of interesting things. Yeah, which they're not signed and sealed, but they are they're being proposed. So we'll see. I mean, it's a question of slotting it all in, really.
Yeah,
slotting the schedule in.
So it just made me think of just another thing to ask. So is there a wait? I suppose there's waiting list. So if you for the next couple of years you're going to be packed out, if another text come in, would you sort of say, I do want to work on this, but I can't until this time?
Yeah,
that happens as well.
It happens all the time.
Yeah,
and it's probably why I think maybe we talked about this before we came on live. So apologies if I've got this wrong, but yeah, you do have to, sometimes the author will submit a text and you might be waiting for years before a particular illustrator. I know Lou Fraser waited a long time for me to finish the Witchling's Wish.
Mm-hmm.
And Anna waited for ages and ages for me to be free to do the Kingfisher, Grandpa and the Kingfisher. They really had to have enormous patience.
Wow.
It must be very frustrating for an author. I think if I was in their shoes, I'd maybe want to get another illustrator to do it if I had to wait 2 or 3 years, for someone.
Oh, it's
difficult,
isn't it? I think it depends on if you really feel that illustrator is absolutely the right person for that book. When you think of the type of book the Grandpa and the Kingfisher is, I can absolutely see that you are perfect for that. So yeah, to not have you on that and to go, well, okay, I don't want to wait that long. I don't think I would have. I think I would have waited.
Oh, I think it's particularly difficult for hanging around for me because I'm so slow. I mean, there are other illustrators so much faster than I am, and I'm just always amazed at their prodigious energy and talent. Really, so I'm a bit slow. I'm really sorry, but I'm very grateful they waited because they're lovely stories and lovely authors to work with.
Yeah, I find that so interesting. So what's the I don't know if I should be asking this. What's the longest someone's had to wait for their book to be maybe started on and finished?
Well, I think both the ones that I've cited, so Lou Fraser for The Witchling's Wish and Anna for Grandpa and the Kingfisher, I think they both waited about 2 years.
Yeah,
maybe. And then, as I said, there's a new book with Holly out next year. And yeah, she had to wait quite a long time for that. Again, because I'm just so slow. I just,
well, I wouldn't say it's just we all know of just when it comes to picture books that it's generally a 2 to 3 year wait. anyway. I think regardless of who the illustrator is, we know we've signed now. Like today, to say if I signed today, he's probably looking at like late 2025, possibly.
It's a long time, isn't it? It's a long time to wait.
Yeah.
It's a long time to wait. It's
So
such a slow, the whole business is slow because, you know, you're waiting for the illustrator to be free, and then the illustrator's actually got to do the work, you know, and if they're slow like me, then that might be 9 to 12 months. And then you've got the whole, you know, reproduction, printing, distribution. And, you know, for some publishers, that's another year. So it's a really long haul. It's a really long haul.
Yeah. And I think, like, I know so many writers as well, and like me, are not very like patient. Like I'm patient when it comes to like family and stuff like that, but with writing, I want everything yesterday. So, and I know so many people like that. So to be in this industry, I'm like, what are we doing? We must be driving ourselves crazy. But it's
I think we are.
Oh, do you know what? I've really enjoyed you coming on. I'm so grateful that you have. I just, as you know, I'm just incredibly thankful to you, and to come on and support my little show as well. Just means
it's lovely. It's lovely to chat to you, Arden. It's lovely to chat.
Oh, it's so lovely to chat to you too, and I hope that we get to see each other again very soon. And keeping everything crossed that can happen.
Yeah, it'd be really nice.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarah, and
you're welcome.
And hopefully, well, if this is still going and it's doing well, we'll have you back on again another time with some new books to show. So that would be lovely.
That would be lovely. Thank you so much, Anna. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming on. Thanks, Sarah. See you later.
Yeah, bye.
Bye. Wow, that's absolutely amazing to chat to Sarah. I just feel incredibly blessed that she's come on to Kidlit Live and shared her journey with us and spoke about all her lovely books and what's coming next and everything behind the scenes. I've just found it so interesting. So I'm just a little bit overwhelmed, but so next week I am joined by the wonderful Ian Eagleton. I can't wait to chat to him. His books are just amazing. I don't know if you've not read any, go and pick them up. I'm just starting Glitter Boy and I can't wait to really get stuck in. I'm so excited. So that's next week, next Thursday at 8 o'clock. So join me then, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you later. Bye.